Thank you. So you might recall at the last estimates I asked a series of questions around the federal grant to the Bjorn Lomborg Centre that was made, and there are a series of questions on notice, and I thank you for the responses to those. I have to say I was a little shocked given the nature of the publication, which we discovered was essentially a vanity publication. We paid $640,000 for in a grant to Mr. Lomborg. Can you confirm this figure of $146,000 for travel paid to Mr. Lomborg?
Response that was provided to the breakdown of costs, and the travel and meeting costs were $146 to 96 and 76 cents.
So of the $640,000 that the Australian people paid Mr. Lomborg, he spent $146,000 on travel and meetings, including to places in Africa.
I don't have the full breakdown of all the places he travelled to. I could take that on notice.
Would you please do that? In your answer, you say country-specific seminars regarding the most effective targets for the post-2015 development were held in, and you've got listed here, amongst others you might yet provide to me, Bangladesh, Brazil, Colombia, India, Indonesia, Kenya, Mexico, Nigeria and South Africa. Other forums, youth forums across Africa, Asia Pacific, Latin America, and it took its results in seminars to New York. Sounds like a pretty good round-the-world trip to me.
Sounds like your question's already been answered too, Senator.
Is that all he did, or is there more, Ms Hart? Did he have more of a good time on the Australian taxpayer dollar than those countries I've listed already for $146,000? Is there anywhere else?
That's the list of countries that were involved in the conduct of the project.
And they are the countries to which Mr. Lomborg travelled?
No, as I said before, I would need to take that on notice. There were forums and meetings where the results may have been conveyed to Dr. Lomborg. I'd need to take on notice which ones he personally attended.
Thank you for that, Ms Hart. Could you also find out for me the contract service, professional fees research, that's $192,000, what constituted that amount? Outreach, $152,000. Forums, $137,000. Could you get a more detailed breakdown of what they were for? And given that Mr. Lomborg was the publishing agent through the Copenhagen Consensus Centre, and the printing and copying of this book that cost us $640,000 only seems to be indicated as $9,444, is that the cost for the printing of the book?
That's my understanding, yes. The $640,000 covered a range of activities, so it doesn't relate just to the cost of the book.
Okay, but the outcome that we've got is a book, of which we could only find one copy, which was the copy that you had to provide for us. We couldn't find one in the library or across the country, in any of the libraries, in fact. So
yes.
We've got one book for $9,444.
As I said, Senator, we only requested one hard copy. I have them electronically. I suppose hard copies of books are not all that necessary these days.
Could I go to the article by Mr. Karp that you might be familiar with in The Guardian regarding the legal obligations to make the grant to Mr. Lomborg? Are you familiar with that article?
Yes, I am, yes.
Okay. There were a number of questions asked for detailed contracts, what contracts were available, what were used in the determination that there was a legal obligation to pay the Triple C. Can you provide those contracts to this committee?
I'm just checking my brief, but I believe that the contract for the project we were just discussing was released as part of FOI documents.
Do you have a copy, Ms Hart?
I don't have a copy on me, but I'm happy to provide that, and it's on the department's FOI log.
Okay,
if it was.
thank you. It would be helpful for me to have a bit of a look at that. But the question is, with regard to the timing of that, this matter was referred to you, Senator Birmingham, in 2015. But the payment was made and the contract was dated the 21st of March 2016. Was this a decision of the Turnbull government to pay this?
Senator O'Neill,
The commitment was made under Mr Abbott.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Then, Senator, remind you the decision to terminate the contractual arrangements with Mr Lomborg was made in the days following Mr Turnbull becoming Prime Minister, in the days just before I became the Minister for Education, in that very narrow window of a few days there. Obviously there were pre-existing contractual arrangements, and we went through a process of assessing what costs needed to be met that had been incurred prior to that decision being taken just after Mr Turnbull became Prime Minister.
So the document that was provided on request that Ms Hart's referred to was the funding agreement that was provided with the date the 21st of March 2016. No contract prior to that, dated prior to that, is available. Is that correct?
The contract that predated that was for the original program of work for the Australian Consensus Centre, but that contract was between the two parties, were the Commonwealth and the University of Western Australia.
Has that been released?
Yes, that's also been released.
Okay.
That was released on the FOI disclosure log.
Thank you. Can I go to the Commonwealth Grant Scheme? And Minister